Hello there. E-ink goes back, at least in terms of mass market appeal, to about 2007. And that's when you had Sony e-readers, but more importantly, Kindle coming out and really bringing e-ink into the public consciousness. And it's kind of taken off as e-readers ever since. And for most of that time between now and then, almost exclusively, the screens on these devices have been in black and white and grayscale. It's only in the last few years that there's been color. And the companies that have been using color screens like Books and Big Me and Pocketbook, these are significant players, but they're still niche players in the overall e-ink marketplace, at least in the consumer electronics level. So it was a pretty large surprise when Kobo announced that they were releasing a couple color e-readers, both the 6 and 7-inch models, and finally bringing to a much more mass market this idea of e-ink color. And so I was it's a big deal in terms of the industry. Kobo and Kindle are kind of like the e-ink versions of Honda and Toyota. So, for every Honda Civic, there is a Camry. For every CRV, there's a RAV4. For every Pilot, there's a Highlander, and so on. Very similar competition between Kobo and Amazon. So for Kobo to enter with the color at this point means that it's probably not long until Amazon enters with their own color e-readers. And now we're finally bringing color to all the major players. At least that's where we appear to be headed. So I was definitely surprised when Kobo announced this. Kaleido 3, which is the current predominant color e-ink technology, has its pluses and minuses, and there was some question about whether it was ready for prime time. But given the sales of these Kobo devices, and it's only been out for a few weeks now, it's pretty clear that the marketplace is there and the interest is there in color. So normally, I don't look at e-readers. E-readers are very ubiquitous. They really kind of come down to personal preferences. They're all great. It comes down to whether you're locked into one ecosystem like Amazon's or Kobo's or Google's or whatever. And that kind of determines what device you may be interested in. And then there might be a couple features that you might then hone in on. Is it waterproof? Does it have buttons? But there's things that you don't necessarily need a review to tell you whether they're good or not. You just need, hey, does this meet my needs? And if so, you're probably going to be fine because the e-ink screens are all produced in the same place, and companies like Kindle and Kobo produce, and even Pocketbook produce solid devices. So you just don't have to worry about it. So I normally avoid reviewing e-readers. I just don't generally see the point. So my channel focuses a little bit more on e-note takers. So I do cover the reading aspect of these devices, but it's the note taking that I tend to focus on. Well, one of the Kobo devices that was released in color, the Kobo Libra Color, has some note-taking capability. And so that garnered my interest. And I have purchased it. I'm going to do an unboxing kind of first look in this video. And then we'll wrap up with my general thoughts and then kind of talk about the next video, which will be more of a formal review. So that's what this video is about. I think it's pretty exciting. There's a lot of energy around these devices. And so I'm hopeful that you can kind of see what it's like to receive one of these devices, to boot it up, and get a general sense of how it performs and if it might be good for you. So that's the first video, is basically a teaser in that sense. So why don't we just get right on in it? Okay, here's the device itself. We'll get to this in a second. In addition to this, I also bought this, which is a clear case cover. Don't know what I was thinking when I purchased this. This basically, as you can see in the image here, is just something that covers the back of the device. I didn't think it through when I purchased this. Covering the back to me is not particularly useful. But we'll since I've purchased it, we'll give it a go and see what it looks like. I would actually recommend either no case at all, especially if you have it at home. when you're not using it, just put the device down so dust doesn't gather on the screen. Or some sort of case that you can, a sleeve or a case that has a cover would be recommended. If I was smarter, I wouldn't have gotten this, but that's the way that it is, so we'll take a look at that. All right, in terms of the Libra Color itself, here's obviously them kind of showing off, the different highlights and writing that can be done. And again, that's the reason why I'm focusing on this device, is not so much the e-reader aspect. We'll cover that briefly, of course, but how well does the writing take place, and what kind of benefits are there to that? So that's going to be our focus. Even though the image is of a white device, I actually have the black one, as you can see here. Here's the back of the device. So it's going to come with a device, a cord, and a manual. So pretty straightforward. All right, let's just go ahead and open this up and see what we've got here. Very colorful lips. Very colorful internals. There's the device itself. You can see the camera and the reflection, the quick start guide, which we will promptly ignore, as well as some of the technical specifications. And here we have the charging cable, and pretty straightforward, standard USB-C cable. Okay, very nice. All right. Oops. Let's go ahead and put that to the side. And let's just take a quick look at this clear case. Again, I don't recommend it, but that was my bad. I should have paid more attention when I was making the purchase. I don't even know if you can buy these clear cases anymore. I went to the website, and they have standard cases, but not the clear case. So I don't know if that was a only for the pre-orders, perhaps. So there's a little notch there for a camera. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, there's the power button. Sorry. Okay, so you can just put this in here. Let me feel the back of it. There's a nice textured back. So that's another reason why this type of case probably isn't the best, because these devices, very similar to the Kobo Elipsa 2e, different texture, but the idea of having a textured back that makes it kind of nice to touch is lost when you have a case. But let me just pop this in there just to see how that is. Okay, there it is. It does allow you to see the back, although it adds the logo there, which, yeah, this is pretty much what I thought it would be, and I don't recommend it, so let's go ahead and pop that out. But the device itself, it does feel nice, which we're going accustomed to with Kobo. We have a screen here on top. Oh, it's starting up. Let's pull that screen off and walk through the startup process. So we'll pick English. Let's get started. Nice, very responsive. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm going to skip ahead just briefly as I put in my password. Okay, so we're on the Wi-Fi network. I had a little bit of a challenge getting the Wi-Fi to connect. Not sure if that's on the device's side or if it's my network. I've had some issues with Wi-Fi lately, so it could very well be on that. Just a few things to point out that, which is to say not the device. The battery is a little over halfway charged. The typing experience was very smooth. The keyboard on screen was very responsive. We're seeing it go through an automatic update right here. Interesting, you can see there in the corner, there's your little power on button, or the light indicator rather. So this stylus, as we're kind of going through this process, is actually, it's compatible with this device. It does not come with this device. So this actually came with the Kobo Elipsa 2e, although you can buy it separately. It's an active stylus. You can see there's a USB-C port there. I've charged it previous to filming this video. It's got a little button there for an eraser button. Or actually, maybe it's a highlighter button. I don't remember because you do have an end cap eraser. This is not a Wacom stylus. Again, the charging is what allows the stylus to work. So if you have a Wacom stylus, which is a passive stylus that's not charged, it won't work with this device. This is the only stylus I'm aware of that will work with the device. It says Kobo on there. Okay, it's going to ask me to activate. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that process off screen. Okay, I was able to sign in using my phone. I actually used my Google account to sign in, so super easy. This then pops up an invitation to start a trial for Kobo Plus. That's their, it's kind of analogous to Kindle Unlimited, which is not everything in the Kobo library is available, but a subset of books on the Kobo library can be read for free when you have this monthly subscription. I don't have it. I'm going to go ahead and pass. So already they've loaded some of the books that I'm reading. I'm sure I'm going to have to download those to start reading. And let's do a quick tour. Let's see what that tells us. All right, we're going to tap this button to get this going. Okay, it's just talking about searching. And you can listen to audiobooks. That's pretty standard for e-readers nowadays. You have Bluetooth. I don't know if you noticed that. There's sync, obviously, with the cloud. That's how all my books are available so quickly. It's interesting. So they have notebooks. I didn't know there were notebooks on this device. Okay, we'll take a look at that. Overdrive, one of the great things about Kobo is its integration with Overdrive. So you need a library card, but you can check in and check books electronically on your device. Pretty cool. Pocket's just another service. We'll pass on that. Okay, this is very similar to the Kobo Elipsa 2E, where you can do different settings to kind of dim the lighting, for example, at a certain time of day. Waterproof, so that's cool. And just talking about charging. You can charge with an outlet. I recommend charging with the computer. Now, I don't have a way to necessarily prove it, but I've done all my e-ink devices. I've charged via USB port, which is a slower charge. I've never had any battery issues. I'm not saying that it's a problem to use a USB charger to charge a device. Many people do that. It's fine. I'm just letting you know that in my experience, I've used a USB port on my computer and it's been great. Usually charge my things overnight, so I'm not too worried about the slowness of the charge. And then in the morning, everything's all ready to go. But both options are perfectly feasible. We talked about the stylus. That's what I've got here. And we are good. All right, there's the tour. Okay, there's the notebooks. They do have notebooks. Okay, this is interesting. So it's brought over everything from my Kobo Elipsa 2E. And does this give... Okay, it's the same options. Interesting. So it's got a basic notebook and an advanced notebook. And of course, you can create folders to put your notebooks as well. I'll cover that a little bit in the next video, but if you're curious, I go into a lot of depth in terms of what you can do with the basic notebook or the advanced notebook with the Kobo Elipsa 2E. So I've got videos on that. I'll take a closer look at this device just to see if there's any changes with this new device and new firmware. But for now, I have all that in a different video if you're curious about it. Okay, so we won't do anything there. Okay, so this is basically very similar to the Elipsa 2E in terms of functionality. I need to connect this stylus. Let's see how we can do that. Okay, so it turns out that all I needed to do is actually plug my stylus into my computer to get it started, unplug it, and start writing, and it worked just fine. So if you go into notebooks, we'll just start a new basic notebook here. We'll say save. Oh, no name. Oops. Test. And voila. All right. Beautiful. Just like the Elipsa 2E. Very nice. Let's go ahead and go into a book. And there we go. There we go. Okay, so just by clicking, let's do that again. So just by clicking on the center of the document, I've got the menu bar up here. I've got a little icon for a pen tip. So there's 5 different sizes of the pen, and then there's different colors. So this is blue. And then to do the highlighter, I'm going to go ahead and click on the highlight button. If I can find it. There it is. And then that's interesting. It turns, it's yellow by default. I wonder how that can be changed. Okay, so I can click on it again and then pick any one of the 4 colors. So that's how you can change the highlighter. So the default's yellow, and then, well, now it's blue. I guess it's whatever the last color I selected. Could be yellow, pink, or magenta, cyan, and green. Green, so in theory, if I do it again, it'll be in green. Yep, very good. Okay, pretty easy to, and we're still writing in blue. Yep. Oops, I hit the button by accident. Let's see if I can undo that. Remove highlight. There we go. Okay, so pretty straightforward, very similar again to the Elipsa 2E. The Elipsa 2E, of course, is a 10-inch screen device. This is much smaller. I think it's 7 inches, if I remember correctly. I'll confirm in the closing. But other than that, the function looks identical. That's the rotation. We're on auto currently. There's the brightness. Again, this is where you can select, what time you want it to start to get dimmer. If you want to go auto lighting, or if you want it fixed, you can change the warmth. Okay, so that's complete. They use a moon and a sun. Usually you also use the phrases warm and cold. So this is full warm lighting, and that's full cold lighting, and that's kind of right in the middle there. Oops. Something like that. Okay. You can change the font of what you're reading. It's one of my favorite features, so you can actually see the chapters that are behind and ahead and the relative size of each chapter. Just all the good stuff that you normally associate with Kobo, but with the addition of color and of writing. And again, a reminder, this stylus has to be bought separately. Okay, the last thing I want to go over before we kind of wrap up this video is just obviously looking at page turns. We'll do swiping as well as the button. We'll start with the button just to see how responsive that is. Very responsive, which is what you'd expect of an e-reader like this. So page turns in a fraction of a second. Okay, and then let's use the swiping. Or tapping. And just as responsive, really no difference there. Okay, so you have a couple options. You can either use the on-screen gestures, or you can use the buttons. And of course, because we're in auto rotate, that's a pretty quick rotation of the device. It just flipped over in just a second. So very easy. And of course, you can turn off auto rotate if you like, so that it won't. Oops, looks like we didn't turn it off. Let's try that again. Oh, let's lock it in portrait. There you go. So now, when we go turn it around, it won't. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so by lock in portrait, it will flip, but it won't flip to landscape. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, see, we've got landscape orientation. There we've got portrait, landscape, portrait, okay, and so on. But if we lock it, it doesn't lock in just this orientation. It will do the opposite, but not the landscape in this case, just the two portraits. Okay, that's good. And then we can do the same thing then with landscape, right? So it won't go that way, but it will go the other way. Okay, very responsive, very good G sensor on that. All right, fantastic. I thought that was going to do it, but I actually realized one additional thing. First off, we're here in sleeping mode, so we see the cover in color. It's somewhat muted colors. That's the nature of this particular cover. But that's not what I wanted to call attention to. The stylus connects magnetically to the side of the device. Let me check the other sides. Nope. Nope. No, but it is this side, and it can connect either way with the eraser up here or the eraser down there, and a pretty tight connection. Your power button is back here as a reminder. So if I click on that, it just turns on to your last book and your last settings. All right, that'll do it. All right, per my tradition of unboxing videos, we're just going to do a weigh-in. And turn this on. Okay, and this is coming in at 202 grams. If you add the stylus, again, which doesn't come with it, then we're talking about 214, which I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but 202 with just the device, 214, the device and stylus. Okay, so that's the first look. Just one quick item about, or a couple quick final points about the hardware of this device. I didn't really do a close-up of the sides of the device. 3 of the sides are just completely smooth. It's slightly, just a hair rounded. And then the one side has the USB connector, and all your kind of certifications are printed on the spine. So not a lot happening on the edges. Of course, as mentioned earlier, you do have the magnet, and it does a nice job of framing the stylus with the device, and it holds pretty well. The other thing, of course, you probably noted is there's kind of a lip on the side, and presumably that's to help make it a little easier to grip, so you can have a slightly looser grip, not be as tight or cramping your hands as a result. And it seems to be effective. When I do my more intensive trials and reading, I'll have this in my hands for longer periods of time. I'll have a better sense of whether it's a good or a bad thing. But it's certainly a thing worth mentioning as it kind of goes up like that. Just a few final thoughts. The first thought, immediate, is I knew that there was some writing ability, like highlighting and of course writing in a book, much like the Kobo Elipsa 2e. I didn't realize this was literally a baby Kobo Elipsa 2e. It looks like it has all the exact same functionality. One of the things that I'm going to do after posting this video is I'll go through my visual tour that I did of the Elipsa 2e, and I'll actually walk through that video as I go through this device just to see if there's any differences between them. But I can tell you I don't see any so far. They look identical. Obviously the biggest difference being that this is a 7-inch screen as opposed to the 10-inch on the Kobo Elipsa, and then of course this is in color, and the Kobo Elipsa is in black and white. But other than that, I didn't see anything in the system menus. Well, and then of course you have the colors options on the pen tray. So small little tweaks like that are different, but the system settings seems to be otherwise identical. So I'm going to put a link to that video in the description, and if there's any deviations that are notable, I'll include that in my next video. But I'm pretty optimistic about this. Just in playing around with it, and I really haven't done anything in depth with this yet, and that will be in the next video where I'll do a full review, and that'll include all the major and minor pros and cons. That'll include the results from battery testing, and I'm also going to spend some time talking about e-ink color. I think many people watching this video might be new to that, and I'll do a demonstration in that video of why people both like and don't like Kaleido 3 Color. So it's a little bit of an experiment that I'm going to try, but I think it might be helpful in understanding how you might be approaching color. Because some people, like myself, really love Kaleido 3 Color and think it's great, and there's other people that are very aware of the deficiencies, and there definitely are deficiencies to the technology. So we'll do a demonstration of that, and then I'll talk about who the device is for and my general thoughts overall. So that's all going to be in the next review video. So I hope to see you then. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please put those in the comments, and I'll respond to as many as I can. Otherwise, I will see you then, and have a great day.